Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. I'm your host, Erica, where we explore the interactions of motherhood, personal growth, and emotional wellness. Today's episode is deeply meaningful conversation about reclaiming your identity, confidence, and emotional worth. Our guest, Amy, is a licensed clinical social worker, trauma therapist, parenting coach, and a mother of two. With over 12 years of experience, she helps women break free from their unhealthy generational patterns. I hope she helps me today, okay? And understand the emotional triggers and step into the unbreakable confidence. This episode is perfect, not only just for a mom, just for a friend, a daughter, a sister, anyone ready to reconnect with themselves and explore healing in a compassionate way. Amy, welcome to the podcast. I'm happy and so excited for you to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here too.
I am excited to get into it. So, can you start by telling a little bit about yourself, like who you are, where you're from, what's your favorite things to do outside of being a mom?
Mhm.
I'm so excited for the listeners to get to know you.
All right, cool. So, I am from South Jersey. It's like 8 degrees here. I know it's colder other places right now, but this is really cold for Jersey. I don't like it. So early in my career, I worked with a lot of children, a lot of families, and I went in homes, right? So you got to see a different dynamic of what the interactions were and the behaviors were and everything. So
Mhm.
I liked my job. I was good at it, and continued to see a theme of trauma as where the trauma therapist comes in. And I had no idea what to do with it. So that definitely motivated me to learn more about trauma, which was
Mhm.
absolutely fascinating. It helped to connect the dots and make so much more sense for things.
Mhm.
But then I had my daughter, and I didn't. The job wasn't the same. I was like, something's not connecting. Something's not connecting. And then I realized as over the couple of years after my daughter was born that I had a much more of a passion to work with the parents and stop the
Mhm.
generational trauma, because I'm like, you could work with the children all you want, but if it doesn't stop with the parents, it's going to continue to get passed down, right?
Right.
Um, so that passion was born from that connection. And
Mhm.
also, when I had my daughter, when she became a toddler, I realized some things were going on with me that didn't make sense. And it was very much connected to these responses I was having.
Mhm.
And I'm supposed to know what they are, right?
Right.
I'm the trauma therapist. I'm the parent coach. But it wasn't the easiest connection to make. Once I made it, it definitely was a
Mhm.
game changer. And we did some work. But the passion of what I do comes from that experience, and then also becoming a mom and how that kind of changed me a little bit.
That's cool. Now you said South Jersey?
Yes. Hmm.
Oh, that is cold. That is cold compared to Texas. Texas is hot, humid, and we're getting ready to prepare for a winter storm this weekend. So fingers crossed that the power don't go out for the next few days and that we're just not going like crazy maniacs down here. Um, because during winter storms we become a little bit crazy and a little bit insane.
Hmm. I think
So
universal.
it's universal, but down here it's mayhem. It's already started. The grocery stores are starting to not have food and
Wow.
tissue and all of that. So today I will be doing the same thing right before I go to work. I'm gonna go to the grocery store and make sure everything is stocked up because the last time this happened, it was back in 2021, and the winter storm took us out for a full week.
Oh no,
So
that's a long
yeah,
time.
long time, and our I want to make sure all the ducks are in a row. So that's what I will be doing once we wrap up here today. So now I'm glad that you brought to attention about a little bit about your background and a little bit about the work that you do. So your work centers on identity, confidence, and worth, especially for women and mothers
Hmm.
who feel like they're lost in their roles, expectations, and survival mode. I know it's happened to me when I first had my daughter, where um, for the last 8 years, I feel like I've been in a survival mode and still going back into that identity of who is Erica and basically who is Erica outside of being a mom and being a spouse? Is she more than a coworker? Is she more than a friend? Is she more than a daughter? So if I had those questions in my survival mode, and I'm sure you've had those questions in your survival mode, can you explain why this is such an important focus right now?
Uh, we become enmeshed when we become mothers, and at first it feels good, right? It's like this.
Mhm.
This is my baby. This is my whole life. We put so many eggs in that basket, and we don't realize. Maybe some people do initially, but I think it's very common that women don't recognize that they're slowly losing themselves. And when I
Mhm.
have a conversation, it's like, well, I don't know what I like to do. Identity and what you like to do are two separate scenarios. It's the
Okay.
concept of who, in my opinion, anyway. Right? Obviously, they overlap, but it's also like,
Mhm.
who are you? How would you describe yourself? How do you feel about yourself internally? Like that self worth. What is that? And we tie so much of our worth or our um, success with my good mom, my feeding my kids the right things. Is there dye in that food, right? All of this stuff that
Mhm.
we pressure we put on ourselves. And there's so many layers that are going just that they're missing. So at the end of the day, and this is a lot of women I work with, they're just like, it's the same stuff every day. What
Yeah,
do I
it
do?
is. It's like the
Who am I?
same
Yeah. So
repeated cycle. It's like you wake up, you get your son or your daughter or your kids, both of your kids ready, or however many kids you have ready. You make sure everybody around you is completely okay. But then when you're by yourself, singly, it's almost like, well, what do I do next? Do I go to work? Do I read a book? Do I take that walk? Do I, and especially for newborn moms, where they're just had the baby and then they're kind of like, okay, I'm back to square one. Like I have this open book that I didn't get the book in the first place, but now that I've been a parent before, I should know all these things.
Mhm.
So why do we often put that pressure on ourselves?
Man, that is a long answer. I'll try to shorten it. There's so many variables for that, and I every time people ask me these questions, I'm like, man, I need to shorten my answer because I have a lot of things to say. Um,
Bring me the long answer because I'm sure the long answer is going to answer my question in the most
Absolutely,
simple way.
absolutely. So one, we got to figure out where it's rooted. There's cultural expectations, there's societal
Mhm.
expectations, there's family expectations. Well, I did it this way, you should do it that way.
Mhm.
Um, if we're linking it to trauma, it is potentially how do I do the opposite of how I was raised? Right. And then there's the concept of, well, I still feel this way, but I want to do the opposite. I don't really know what I'm doing. Or it's, I'm having these feelings and reactions that are very similar to the way I was raised, and I don't
Mhm.
like it. What do I do about it? And then they put the pressure on of like, it's there. Oh no, what do I do? And then there's,
Mhm.
um, and it doesn't always come out if there's not like, that pause, that awareness,
Mhm.
knowing what to do and how to handle that, giving yourself compassion in the meantime of learning all of these new things that you're experiencing. Um, it can definitely impact the relationship with your children and your partner and everyone around you because your body is just, especially postpartum. Oh man, none of that makes sense, right?
Oh, it
You're
doesn't make sense. The postpartum, especially like I remember right after I had my daughter, I think it was like a couple weeks, maybe a couple months down the line, because I couldn't walk after having a fourth degree tear. I didn't walk until maybe about May,
wow.
and I had my daughter in January. So you can only imagine one, you having a fourth degree tear and you have all these stitches. And then two, learning how to re-walk, learning how to retake a shower, all those things, and then dealing with postpartum. I
Mhm.
One of the things I really wish that on the spouses and on the male side of things, I wish they could recognize the signs of postpartum, so that way they know, okay, she's getting into a slow slope or she's getting into a little bit of sadness. Why is she going through this? And kind of navigate it. Because men don't know. They just assume that we're just, oh, you're tripping. You're going crazy. You're not. And I'm like, no, we're not going crazy. It's postpartum and it's just something that, and it's something that can be avoided, but it can't be avoided at the same time.
And I think that speaks to the whole pressure too,
Hmm.
because it's not always talk. I know it's talked a lot more now, but we don't always get the support that we need for it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of women who didn't know about it or didn't have the support around them, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel like this? Why can't I just get up and hold my baby? Why can't I
Mm-hmm.
get out of bed? And then that pressure to force yourself to do it when nothing's, it's not really, I want to say it's not really possible. It's very difficult to actually do.
Yeah, and I felt like when the postpartum was happening with me, I was like, man, I'm stuck,
Mm-hmm.
but I still have to get up and get my daughter. I'm like, she's crying. You can't just let her sit there like and drive yourself insane. You gotta soothe her first, and then figure out what you can do whether it's writing down in that journal or just crying in the shower. It was really helpful because I was like, okay, at least I know something is wrong. And it's good that you're advocating for the support of postpartum because not a lot, I think right after, not a lot of doctors have I guess, the meaningful resources for postpartum. So
Mm-hmm.
they're like, well, come to me if you start feeling a certain way, then come to me. But I'm like, it shouldn't happen 6 weeks later for you to
Mm-hmm.
come. I really believe where I did a little bit of research overseas, they have it to where you can come to them immediately
Mm-hmm.
and you feel comfortable, you feel safe, and it's a safe space. Where here, it's like you gotta wait 6 weeks, and it's like,
Yeah.
why do you have to wait 6 weeks?
Mm-hmm. And I think that stuck feeling too doesn't just end in postpartum.
Mm-mm.
Because there's times where I know, I mean, I have a 6 and a 3-year old, and there's times where I'm just like, I need it to be quiet. I need to just sit still and not do anything. And it's almost like that urge to run away, like jump out of your body and run away. And you know
Mhm.
you can't because you
Mhm.
have to be there. And I love my babies 1000%, like wouldn't change anything. But that overstimulated, tired, like, exhausted feeling, it
Mhm.
tends to be very intense.
Yeah.
And don't know what to do with it. And if it's
Mhm.
linked to trauma, if those things that are happening in front of us, the kid saying no, the kid crying, the spilled milk, like whatever it is,
Mhm.
if those are triggers and our body's responding to it, and there's not a mind body connection, we're
Mhm.
going to impulsively respond because the only thing that
Mhm.
we want to do is run away and escape, right? So that's
Mhm.
where a lot of those impulsive reactions that are linked to trauma kind of come through. But yeah, I think that stuck feeling, it might dissipate a little bit, but I think I definitely think it continues to stay.
I think the stuck feeling, even now with the transition of um my daughter being 8, you still have that stuck feeling because even when I get done with a shift, I'm kind of like, I need 30 minutes. Please just don't come in here. I've been talking to people all day. People are yelling and screaming in my ear, cussing, and just different things. And the last thing I want is, okay, it's 6:30. Are you off? And I'm like, yeah, I'm off, but can you give me just an extra 30 minutes of I just got
Decompress.
done finishing with computers and phones and let me decompress. And so, what are some ways that you think that if a new mom or just a mom that still feels stuck is going through the postpartum or going through the baby blues or just feeling stuck?
Sorry, can you say that question one more time?
So the question I had is like, if you're a new mom or a mom that's been, just feeling stuck, what kind of resources would you recommend?
Okay. Um, One, I think it depends on the community for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
think we have a support system. We have a partner, we have parents, friends, churches, whatever it is. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality is not everybody has that. And I see that a lot. A lot of healing will happen quicker when you have a support system.
Mm-hmm.
So one, if that's there, I'd say go to your support system, be honest what's going on, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that support system will help link you. Therapy, 100% recommend therapy. We don't always have to go straight to medication. In my therapy appointments, I don't advocate for that right away. We kind of see
Mm-hmm.
what's going on because a lot of times the skills and being able to work through the trauma and talk about what's going on, that alleviates those symptoms enough where they don't necessarily need that medication. In other cases, it's absolutely needed and absolutely beneficial. So that could be an
Mhm.
option too.
Mhm.
Um, any kind of like mom support groups, whether it's online or in the community, I know it's hard to, especially postpartum, want to leave the house, even though that's
Mhm.
probably what we need, or being able to take the baby out, whatever the case is. But some, grace and self compassion is always not necessarily a resource,
Mhm.
thing that I feel no matter what stage of motherhood that we need to do a little bit. Giving yourself some grace and taking some of that pressure off and
Mhm.
allowing yourself to say, I can rest and I can pause.
Or even just saying no to certain situations or saying no to the events. I think we have still have that the stigma around no.
Right.
And I feel like in this season that I'm walking in is saying no doesn't mean you're turning away a friendship or turning away that uh, business relationship. Is just prioritizing your mental health a little bit better. And I think that we need to understand when somebody says no, it's not um, needed to be perceived as a negative connotation.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be perceived with people recognizing that it's okay to say no. It's okay to take that moment and say, I can't do this obligation at this moment, or I don't have the funds to provide this at this moment. And instead of saying no, have the obligation of the other person on the other end, just give that empathy and that compassion for that no,
Yeah.
which I strongly believe.
Absolutely. People tend to get defensive. They take it personally. I am, set those boundaries, protect the peace. If it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. It's okay
Mhm.
to say no. And I think a lot of postpartum moms, especially right away, the family want to come visit. And it's okay to say no. Like, this is our space for a couple of weeks. Like, we need to readjust to what's going on. The baby needs to readjust to, or not readjust, but adjust to being it.
At
Right.
home, yeah. Not
Um,
to mention, really quickly, not to mention the other thing I would think of, even if you're not even a new mom and you're in a season where you can't make every obligation happen, I still feel like it's okay to say no
absolutely.
without just feeling like you're going to be judged automatically. Because right now, with me, I'm starting to say no and put those boundaries. And it's kind of like, well, why you don't want to come here? Why you don't want to travel here? What's the problem? And it's not that I don't want to do these things, because I do. It's, what if I don't have the funds to do it? What if my job is not allowing me to even do it because my job keeps me stuck? And I know some jobs keep other people stuck and they have to stay where they are. um, I feel like sometimes it is give and take, and it should be either 50-50. It doesn't have to be 100% all the time, but if you know somebody's going through that's in a stuck season, they can't make these obligations,
Yeah.
send them a text or call them. On FaceTime. FaceTime has evaluated a lot lately. So, or not evaluated, elevated, I should say, a
Got it.
lot more lately.
Absolutely. And it's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be a fun thing or a job thing. If you just don't have the capacity to do it, then that's okay. There's times where, we've had an event to go to or whatever, and I'm ready and I'm trying to get myself ready to go, and I'm just like, I can't. I
You
just
can't.
I can barely exist right now. So I'm sorry I can't make it. And I have a wonderful people around me who understand, moms who've been there, and I'm just like, I just can't. Maybe next time.
Yeah, and that's, like I say, like you stated, that's okay to just say, right now my cup isn't full
Right.
and I don't have the bandwidth for it. Now I know we're going to get into something interesting about generational patterns and the nervous system, because we talked about this a little bit previously before.
Mhm.
So how do these factors show up in women's lives, and why are they,
Mhm.
not why, but how are we able to recognize the generational patterns and breaking that cycle?
You have to listen to your body. Your body's going to tell you when something's not right. Now, we don't
Mhm.
always know what that means, which is why we have to pause and do some other things. But generational trauma gets passed down through DNA. So it's not that you
Mhm.
remember what your great great grandmother experienced, right? It's not a
Mhm.
memory like that. Um, but I'm wondering if there's any moms who've noticed, when their kids telling them no,
Mm-hmm.
that it's almost like, oh gosh, why does this feel this way? Why is there pressure in my head? Why did I just automatically get really tense and feel the urge to yell? Like that's a normal toddler behavior. Spilling the milk, tantrums, those kinds of things. When you notice your body responding to the situation, when you notice your reaction responding to the situation, and your reaction is way bigger than the actual situation, that's how you notice it.
So is it like almost when like you're having some type, I don't want to say panic attack, but kind of like the anxiety comes up in reference to something being triggered? Is that correct?
It could be any kind of feelings. Anxiety, anger, confusion. I know mine was confusion. I'll give you an example as to how I started noticing it.
Okay.
I think my daughter was about 2, and it also depends on what the trauma has been, right? It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
um you it doesn't have to be physical abuse, sexual abuse. Those absolutely are traumas, and they show up.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional abuse is a big part of it as well. And I think that so many people in past generations or whatever, they just normalize it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they did the best they could. That's just how they were. So ultimately, it may not have been intentional, but the messages that get sent down, you're not good enough, or I'm only going to praise you and love you when you're productive. I'm only going to praise you and love you when you get good grades. Those kinds of messages that get sent down, however it gets ingrained. So, that being said, um, toddlers will get mad when you cut things the wrong way, when you peel the banana instead of cutting the banana, right? Like whatever it is,
Yeah.
toddlers will get upset over these stupid little things. And I noticed my body. It was a sandwich actually. The moment I realized it, I cut the sandwich like maybe in a rectangle instead of a triangle, whatever the case was. I cut it the wrong way. She had a reaction, a normal 2-year-old reaction, and my
Which is
body,
a
right? My body responded very strongly to it. And I wanted to scream at her. And I wanted to be like, what's wrong with you? You don't appreciate any, like that was what was happening up here. Now, I at least had enough sense to pause and not say that. But I'm sitting there afterwards and I was like, oh my gosh, why do I want to cry right now? What's wrong with me? Um, and it took me a little while. Again, not always proud to say how long it took, but I'm like, if I'm the professional and I have all the connections of trauma and it took me
Mhm.
that long to connect it, then what's everybody else experiencing? And that's what fueled, the next part of my career, which I know we're going to get into in a little bit. So I yeah, so I think the recognizing it is listening to your body. Your body's going to tell you when something's not right. Um,
Mhm.
and pausing.
I have a question about um, a little bit more about generational trauma because why, and it might be just me, but why do we feel like we want to do the opposite of what um, we were taught when we were younger? Because I feel like I was, for me, I feel like my childhood, there is a lot of trauma that's happened. There's been, I feel like I've suffered pretty much all different types of abuse in my life. Um, and trigger warning, if you are listening to this, please pause if you think this is too much. But I feel like I have had suffered all four, to be honest with you. Um, for me, I do the twitch still every now and then. I do that. I don't do the screaming so much anymore in my sleep, but for someone that is going through something like this, how can they break that cycle? Now, this is something that a lot of people don't know about me, that has taken place. Some of my closest friends do know about it, have been thinking about it, and we've talked about it a little bit. But for someone that's going in something like that, we're now like, I guess I want to say at peace. I don't feel that I can be hurt anymore, but I still get those fight and flight responses. How can you break that, or what direction do you go to make yourself feel like okay, it's okay,
Yeah,
and you don't have to feel like you have to fight or flight anymore?
absolutely. So, in terms of the fight or flight, recognizing it is sometimes really uncomfortable, but it's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely a step, right? Because you can't do anything about it if you don't actually know it's there or what it's tied to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, definitely shows how much awareness you have of your own body. Grounding techniques are amazing. So what happens is when your body goes into fight or flight, um, you are responding to the trauma you experienced when you were 9, when you were 15, and whenever it happened, right? Whatever
Mm-hmm.
the trigger is that's connecting to a past trauma, your body shows up and is like, oh, yeah, that feels familiar. And then it just automatically goes to that space. So that's what I was saying. Like your body's listen to your body because your body's going to react stronger than the situation. And that's going to tell you where it's rooted.
Okay.
So we want to ground ourselves to the present, and that could look like that could look different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the 5 4 3 2 1 technique is probably the most common one to use grounding, and the purpose of that is let me look around the room and I'm going to name 5 things, and then what do I see? What do I smell? What do I hear? Those things. It
Mm-hmm.
helps remind you that I'm in the present and I'm not in the past when the trauma happened.
Okay.
Um, smells are really good. Any kind of like sensory input. I
Like
like
essential oils kind of thing help.
Yeah, anything that's, or even if like whatever baby shampoo you use for your daughter when she was a baby, like that's going to bring back
Okay.
a positive memory. If, your partner has a certain cologne that you really like. So it helps to ground you to the present.
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm a big fan of tangible objects. So
Okay.
if you know you're going to be in a situation where that fight or flight response is going to be more activated more easily,
Mm-hmm.
bring something with you. So that's also a nice sensory input. The object itself is a reminder, hey, this is where I am. I'm not 9 years
Mm-hmm.
old. Um,
Okay. Because
plus,
that's happened, like, I don't want to say recently that it's happened a little bit more about the twitching. I only do that when I'm sleeping. The twitching happens, but at some point I'm like, okay, I wake up, I'm like, okay, I'm fine, like everything's okay. Or my spouse will rub my back and be like, hey babe, you're good, you're fine, you're safe. So then I go back into a sleep and I'm like, okay, I'm okay. And I think it's like you said, it reverts back to like whatever happened to you at 9, 10, or 11. And I'm so guarded now to the point where, like, for example, my mom's been saying, like, you don't tell me a lot of stuff. You need to go to therapy. You got a lot of anger in your heart, those things, which I'm still working on finding a therapist, by the way. But in the end,
later, I can help you.
I know, I'm excited. But
I know.
in this season with 2026, I want to be able to help anyone that is going through those things, whether they face all different types of diversity or abuse or whatever they may get into, that they're trying to get past. I want them to know that they can overcome it. Because I did it. I overcome it. I feel like I've overcome it, but sometimes it feels like I keep go
Sure.
10 steps forward, 10 steps back. So,
Oh, so hold on though. I want to give yourself some grace there because not invalidating what you are experiencing,
mhm,
um, but growth itself is not linear, right? It
mhm,
is you see it on the stickers and the posters or whatever, but it's so true
mhm,
because you're going to have these hills and these valleys in when on your trauma journey, on the healing journey, and that's normal. It's what you do with it. So if
mhm.
you have that bump in the road and you're like, oh gosh, there it just went again.
It's
What the heck?
coming.
I was over this, right? You can get down on yourself and take it that way, or you can be like, all right, what do I do now? What am I going to learn? How am I going to grow from this? Because you have so many times. Um,
Yeah. And
but it,
I feel like I need to give myself grace and commend myself for coming such a long way and share, and of course being open on my platform to share all different type of things that happen to me. It is a scary moment for me to be this transparent and be this vulnerable with people. But if people hear this, I just want them to know you can overcome um, whatever trauma that you're facing. Because, like I said, I not a lot of people know I played the violin, or not a lot of people know that I have scoliosis in my back. You could really tell. You can't even tell that I have scoliosis and it's hurting, but I'm facing it and I'm going through it, which it kind of leaves me scary with the generational trauma that you're talking about, because I don't want that to pass down onto my daughter. Um, I feel like I am being a present mom. Not saying that my mom wasn't. um, present in my life. She was there, but I wanted her to be there,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, then of course, Mom, I love you. If you hear this, I'm sorry. But like I said, I feel like I've changed the mode of being present in my daughter's life to know that you can always be safe with me. You can always be grounded with me. I'm teaching her, like, there's different phases. Like, you're getting older right now. You're becoming a little lady, and your boundaries is what matters. If somebody gets in your personal space, you do
Yeah.
not let them get in your personal space. That's not right. If somebody touches you inappropriately, you tell them, don't touch me inappropriately. And so the life that I see for that I saw for myself when I'm her age, when I was 8, um, to show her that she has a safe ground. I'm like, Mama Bear is here. Like, I'll fight anybody. Like, I just don't want to scare her with my trauma going to hers.
Yeah.
So,
And that's a fine line. I feel like I try to equip my daughter with a lot of these things because I've
mhm,
done so much trauma work with children and I know what can happen. Um, and I'm just like, how much do I give without scaring her, but equipping her and giving her like the ability to
mhm.
take care of herself, and it's
it
hard not to overcompensate and do the opposites.
it's very, what have I been saying? They humble you. They
Mm,
humble you in the best
yeah.
rewarding way, but then it's like you learn a lesson inside the lesson that they give you when they do humble you. So I want to get into, I know this is so cool because we're about to get into the breaking of the patterns, a little bit of your work and the emotional regulations. So I know a lot of women, like you said, I've had that flight and flight mode, the reactions, which can ripple through relationships, friendships, leadership, family life. What does that process look like in your practice? Oh, and by the way, can we add onto this, um, breaking patterns in a friendship? Because I wanted to break that down as well.
Breaking patterns in the friendship.
hmm
Oh,
So,
what?
like, say for instance, let me try to figure out the best way of explaining this. So, I've had to create boundaries within my friendships.
Mhm.
So, I've had certain patterns in the friendship where I have given money, I've given my time, but it's not feeling reciprocated.
Got it. Okay.
So I want to understand how to break a pattern in a healthier way, or like, the green flags versus the red flags
Yeah.
in the friendship.
Absolutely. Okay, so in the cycle breaker program, excuse me, um, it starts out it starts out really with the identity, a lot of identity healing. And like I said, it's not just what hobbies you like to do. What do you like to do for fun? It goes deeper
hmm
than that. Who are you as a person, as a woman?
hmm
Um, and I feel like that right there, it targets a lot of the confidence, a lot of the self-worth. And I like to
hmm
start there. I feel it's necessary to start there. Um, because it helps to open up what behaviors, what processes you have,
hmm
um, and what feelings you have. Which
hmm
ones are genuine and really coming from your core values, and which ones are coming from the rooted trauma. So what you identified was something like along the lines of people pleasing, not being able to
hmm
no those kinds of not being able to set boundaries, very common in
hmm
especially for women with trauma. So when you start in that space and you're able, there's a mini module in, I think it's in the first, that's actually in the first one.
hmm
It's talking about core beliefs. What core beliefs are real and which ones are ingrained in you? That I'm not good enough is obviously not true. So what do we replace it with? Like, what is really there? How do we kind of take the rubble off
hmm
of who you are and who you were born to be and the light that shines inside of you? Let's take the rubble off and really get to that space instead of
hmm
this surface stuff the world has put on top of you. So uncovering that and doing that identity work makes that answer a lot clearer. Like, why am I doing this and what should I do instead? It gives you the confidence to be like, no, I'm not going to loan you money. That's not okay. Right. So that's just the first module, right? We do a lot of that just in in the first space. But there's other ones that are specific to boundaries, saying no. There's one called Girls Stop Apologizing, because we do that way too much. There is a space about the overcompensating, and it's just, oh my goodness. I really, really love this program because it's so much more than honestly what I even do in therapy, right? So we have the therapy sessions, and sometimes they're structured, sometimes they're not, depending on what's going on in life. This program, it covers everything, and every day I'm like, oh, let's add that too, so I can keep adding to it, and then people can just watch them as they go. There's many lessons. There's a lot of meditations and reflections in there as well that target those specific spaces. It helps you to go deeper. It helps you to really, there's a lot of visualization exercises which are so helpful, because everyone experiences healing in a different way. You know, some people can hear something, some people need visualization, some people can write, whatever it is. So there's all those different components in there, for all the different learning styles.
And I like your mom too, because when you were sharing those with me, I was like, "Oh, these are fun." Like I can see myself understanding what my beliefs are, and I can see myself knowing what kind of meditations to help. So you guys need to check it out, because I am for sure going to check it out.
Awesome.
And so before we wrap up here, because I know we've gone on this sensitive topics already about the trauma and generational patterns and how to break them. Um, in regards to like a confidence shift or like identity, confidence in your worth in your daily life, what are some practical ways women can reconnect with themselves outside of feeling like they can't say no, or if they feel like they're too overwhelmed, or the responsibilities of juggling that motherhood?
There's something, anybody who participates in the program, you're going to hear me say three words quite often: pausing, intention, and awareness. And I like to identify those things as like the emotional foundation. So if you're going to build a house, you're going to make sure the foundation is secure and strong and level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's not, and you build and build and build, it's going to fall or will break, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we stay in those three spaces, pausing, awareness, intention, then whatever comes next, being able to identify what our bodies feel like, what feels safe and what
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, being able to, say, I have the right to rest. I have the right to say no. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I need, and that's okay. The program is designed to really stay with the pause, the intention, and the awareness. And once that's really secure, then the rest of that is intrinsic. It naturally flows and it naturally feels good. And I've worked with a lot of women where they get to that point and they don't realize that they got to that point until they say something, and then they pause. And I'm like, okay, what are you thinking about right now? Because it's like a very obvious cut, like in the thought process.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I think this is what happy feels like. No lie. Like you can just see it. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I'm like, tell me more. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember one person said, is this who I am? Is this who I'm becoming? Because this is really exciting. And I remember I
Mm-hmm.
wrote it down because that made my entire week, that statement right there. So it's nobody's journey is the same. But if we're not starting with that pause, intention, and awareness,
Mm-hmm.
then we don't get to that space. So again, maybe you were looking for a short answer, but there's my long answer.
I like the long answers. No, I like the long answers. And I like that, though, that answer ties in with like the identity and the confidence. Because if you think about it, um, everybody wants to be the best version of themselves, regardless whether they're in a stuck season or whether they're going through a trauma that they're trying to face. So I believe that everybody wants to be happy on some surface level, which it shouldn't be a surface level to be happy, but to take the steps and go through therapy and go through those necessary steps to get to that happiness point. I think you're doing a really amazing job helping a lot of women and moms out there. You're welcome.
I get really excited about it. I definitely love my job.
You have made me excited with this whole conversation today. So, before we wrap up, I have some fun, reflective questions that I would like to ask. My first question is if you could describe your year in one word, what would it be and why?
Um, Probably Flash. It fast. Like it's just I think about it all the time. It just and I feel like the more kids you have, I only have two, but it goes so fast, and you're like,
Mhm.
what happened? How is my baby already 3.5? Like, how is this happening? So Flash.
I am saying that as we speak because I'm like, how is my daughter already 8? And I'm like, this is
Mm.
insane.
Well, that's part of the
Um,
importance of being present,
yeah.
and not just existing in the room. Like you identified
Mhm.
that before, right? There's a difference between being there and being present. Um,
Playing
and
that game or listen, dancing out because me and my daughter, we sure dance out. I'm like, you want to do a dance party? And she's like, yeah, mom, let's do one. So we do dance parties. The fact that my daughter made me aware that I was working too much
hmm
because she doesn't understand that I'm at work all day. Um, the older she's getting, I'm like, I have to work. You don't understand this now, but when you turn 18, you're gonna be like, I need
Oh,
money to survive, and I need money
right.
to pay this bill. And it's very important that we have to have that root to
Mhm.
understand that we have to use these things to survive. So I'm teaching her that now. What is your personal word of the year for 2026, and how do you plan to embody it?
The same as what I'm teaching, intention. Being more intentional in a lot of spaces, being intentional with my presence with my children, because I
Mhm,
also work from home.
mhm.
And my travel space is going upstairs, and that's about it. So
Yeah.
there is like that decompression. I hear my kids upstairs sometimes when I get home,
Mhm.
or when I get done, or it's as soon as I get done, I got to get them off the bus, and then I'm still in work mode. Like I haven't transitioned,
Yep. That's how
which
I am. It's like
yeah,
you gotta run back to I'm like, you gotta run right back. And I wish jobs would be more understanding where if you know somebody is a parent,
yeah,
give them an earlier shift. Give them where they can have that space to get off of work, get their kids, or
right,
split the shift, something to make it accommodating. I feel like a lot of employers are so infatuated with the numbers and the stats of we got to beat this company and this company,
oh yeah,
where that's why they say in 2025 last year that a lot of people are becoming done with these companies because it's overwhelming and
yeah,
it's not accommodating to now parents, and it's getting worse than better to accommodate parents.
yeah, absolutely.
And then I have one last question. What is one unexpected lesson motherhood has taught you about yourself?
It's it taught me how to humble myself.
Hmm.
I was always a little, I don't know if cocky is the right word. Um, but and if you ask my family or even my husband, but that boyfriend at the time, I
Hmm.
always felt like I knew it all. Like I always, had it right. I don't. I really don't. And I feel like motherhood very much made me realize that.
Motherhood
Yes.
humbles. It
Yeah.
humbles you so much. And people, when I first was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Like, what? I was like,
Mhm.
this can happen. And then I was like, well, duh, Erica, you laid down and you did what you did. Of course, this is what happens. But it does humble you, but it's so much fun to see your child be a little version of yourself. And you're like, all right, you're my safe haven. You come back to me, and you're gonna probably bite me in the butt when you get a teenager. But in the end, I pray that my daughter doesn't do half the things that I did when I was a teenager. So,
Well, see, there's the break in the cycle, right? You're
mhm,
being intentional and aware of what to do differently this time. And
mhm,
part of one of the things I find myself overcompensating in is giving her trying to help her find her own confidence and her worth
mhm,
to make her own choices. And no matter what the world throws at her, she's confident in who she is. And I bring
mhm,
faith into that a lot. Regardless of who Joe says you are or whatever, like who does God say you are? And I love when she takes those messages and she applies them. So I'm going to give a quick example. I know we have to give off, but I'm just really proud, so I want to say this. But
yes,
so she decided that one day that she liked wearing her socks over top of her leggings. Okay, cool, whatever, do your thing, right?
mhm,
Socks have always been a weird trigger for her, so whatever works, I don't care as long as you're wearing socks. Um, Well, the next day she wanted to do it again, but the pants she was wearing were baggier. They were like baggier sweatpants kind of thing.
Mhm.
So socks over top would probably not feel comfortable and definitely look a little weird. So I suggested, I was like, I really like that, you found a cool style, whatever. I said, you
Mhm.
might want to test it out first because it might look a little strange.
Mhm.
She goes, I don't care. I'm going to wear what I like. And if someone makes fun of me, I'm going to
Oh,
ignore them. And I was like, yes. Oh my gosh. I was so excited
that
because
is awesome.
never had that confidence as a kid. I didn't start having that confidence till I was in my late 20s, for goodness sakes, right?
Mhm.
So I ran down the hall and I told her dad, I was like, guess what she just said? It really, like, those are those moments. And I'm like, you're listening. Yes.
Those are
Um,
the things because I feel like for kids that are like our daughter's age, 3, 4, 5, even 8, for example, for my daughter, I'm trying to teach her that you are beautiful, you are bold, you're smart, you're amazing, you're talented. I'd say those affirmations every day to her. Let her know that she's confident in what she believes in, you're confident in what you're wearing. If someone's being mean to you, don't even pay attention because
yeah,
they got something going on that they probably don't even understand with themselves.
absolutely.
Um, but I'm glad that you left with this note with your daughter because a lot of people, we need to celebrate the small wins, especially whether it's for ourselves or for our children. Celebrate those small wins. Well, Amy, thank you so much for being here and sharing your insight and your story. I have had a ball with this episode today. And this conversation has packed with the tools, encouragement, and perspective for every woman that is listening. You don't have to be a mom. You could be a sister, a friend, a woman just in general, just listening, or even a dad. Take the tools that of what you're thinking about. So before we leave here, you have to share your amazing company with
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. Awesome. So the company is just called Amy Haydak Coaching. It's just my name. It's easy to find me. My main focus in the coaching company is the same thing we're talking about here, is breaking those unhealthy generational cycles. And
Hmm.
it's not specific just about parenting. It's really focused a lot on the identity and confidence and worth.
Hmm.
And then the rest, like I said, it naturally kind of flows after that. You'd be like, oh, I know how to be a good parent. I had these blocks of who I am first. So
Hmm.
if you go on amyhaydakcoaching.com, the program shows right up, and then there's ways to contact me. If you go on my Facebook page under links, all of the links to find me are on there. I also offer a free 30-minute call to everyone who wants to just learn about either my program or talk about their own unhealthy generational cycles. Um, if you join the program, cool. If you just want to take the 30-minute coaching call, well, you got 30 minutes free. So take it. That link is also in there. And there's also a link to, I have a quiz that I designed. It's called Why
Hmm.
Do I React the Way I Do? So that's a quiz in my bio as well. And once you take it, it'll give you a little bit of insight as to why you're reacting the way you're reacting. But you're also going to get at the end of it your free personalized plan to break the cycle and leave a lasting legacy. So it's little snippets of the program in, to be able to apply personally to what's going on. And then obviously, if you want to take it a little bit further, it talks about the full program. So yeah, take the quiz, get your insight, see what's going
Hmm.
on, download your free plan.
Hmm.
That's a great place to start. Schedule your free call after you do your free plan, and we'll talk about it.
You heard her, you guys. Well, as I always say, stay true to yourself. Give yourself some grace. Take one day at a time because motherhood wasn't built like Rome. And Rome wasn't built in a day. Just have to make you laugh for today. Um, Either way, I want you again, Amy, thank you for being on the podcast. You guys, with the podcast, we are on all streaming platforms. Please check out the YouTube channel because you get to see a little bit of some YouTube shorts or reels. We're also on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, of course. And leave and like and share a review and share it with your friends. So, Amy, thank you again. And until next time, thank you for being on the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. Bye, guys.
Thank you.